Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. The news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Diana Master. How are you, Diana?
I'm doing well, Ashwin. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
I'm so thrilled that we finally got some rains.
Yes, absolutely.
It was ridiculously hot over the past few days.
For sure. But we're in, Windhoek translates to wind corner. So
yes.
This is God's aircon. So how hot was it for you?
It was very hot. Every time I stepped outside, I felt like I was stepping into a furnace or an oven.
Oh, my goodness. You don't look the parts, though. You look like the furnace and the oven.
Because I am. Now let's get into what you can expect in today's broadcast. ICJ on Israeli occupation of Palestine hearings begin. Uproar over SANDF deaths in the DRC, and an update on Mozambique. Fire engulfs supermarket on Maputo's Marginal. We'll also be bringing you news from Zambia a little later on in the show with Mike Sichila. But for now, we'll be taking a quick ad break and returning with our top stories.
On behalf of the National Road Safety Council and all stakeholders in the road safety subsector, I extend our deepest and heartfelt condolences to the former First Lady, Madam Monica Keingos, the bereaved family, the relatives, friends, and the entire Namibian nation on the sudden passing of our beloved President, His Excellency Dr. Hage Gottfried Keingos. His leadership, resilience, and firm belief in systems, institutions, and processes will forever be kept and cherished in our hearts, as well as his belief in unity, inclusivity, and equality. I, on behalf of the National Road Safety Council and all stakeholders in the road safety subsector, join the rest of the nation in mourning the passing of our distinguished leader. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Getting into our top stories, the International Court of Justice on Monday began hearings in a case against Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories, barely a month after it issued a series of directions to Tel Aviv in a separate case where it is accused of genocidal acts in the Gaza Strip. In a first-of-its-kind case, at least 52 countries will present arguments on controversial Israeli policies in the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and occupied East Jerusalem. It's the largest number of parties to participate in any single ICJ case since the court was established in 1945. Israeli authorities since 1967 have illegally occupied the West Bank and East Jerusalem, part of Palestine, under the United Nations determined division of historic Palestine in 1948, running a system that restricts the citizenship rights of Palestinians, hampers their free movement, and strips them of ancestral lands.
Now, the recent casualties suffered by the South African National Defence Force in the Democratic Republic of Congo have ignited a fierce political storm, particularly for governing ANC, as critics assail the decision to deploy troops to the conflict-ridden region, with 2 soldiers killed and 3 injured in an attack during the Southern African Development Community mission in the DRC. Government finds itself under intense scrutiny, facing accusations of recklessness and poor judgment in committing military personnel to a volatile foreign theatre. Stephen Gruzd, head of the African Governance and Diplomacy Program at the South African Institute of International Affairs, said it was no secret that the SANDF was severely underfunded, had outdated equipment, and a very old average age for soldiers. Criticism of the decision has been amplified by growing public discontent, even from opposition parties, with outrage over the perceived disregard for the lives of SANDF personnel.
Now, a large fire has completely destroyed a supermarket located opposite Mercado do Paxe in Marginal Avenue in Maputo. Flames completely engulfed the structure, leaving behind only debris and ashes. The National Public Safety Service does not know the cause of the fire. The fire reportedly started around 9 p.m. on Sunday evening. There have been no deaths or injuries at the scene, but the damage was extensive. A security guard on duty at the time explained that the fire started at the rear of the supermarket and soon spread spread. According to the security guard, the flames broke out at the rear of the establishment shortly before 9 p.m. The presence of police at the scene was crucial, especially considering that there are suspicions that the safe was not affected. The company has declined to make a statement, but the newspaper calculates that the fire puts the future of more than 100 workers at the supermarket in doubt.
Now, according to Namibian Sun, concerned teachers in Kamagoro Combined School in the Kavango West region and parents are calling on government to build a hostel to accommodate students who are forced to walk up to 20 kilometers each day to attend school. Teresia Maira, the school's life skill teacher, told Namibian Sun that the dire situation has left many parents with no choice other than to construct makeshift shelters near the school to eliminate the long and exhausting daily commute. However, as a result, the learners are left unsupervised. Since the school does not have a hostel and some learners live far from school, most parents have taken the initiative to build shelters for their children around the school to avoid them having to walk long distances every day. With no parents or guardians to look after them, some learners as young as 16 years old tend to move in with their boyfriends and girlfriends. Learners arrive at the school exhausted, which affects their ability to concentrate and engage in class activities. She warned that these shelters, however, are far from ideal and lack of the necessary facilities to ensure the learners' comfort and safety.
Now, since Kenya's William Ruto and Nigeria's Bola Tinubu became presidents, they have faced similar criticism over their frequent trips abroad. The two men have been the subject of unflattering descriptions. The costs associated with their alleged penchant for air travel often contrasted with tough economic conditions at home. A Kenyan newspaper, The Standard, nicknamed Mr. Ruto the flying president. It said, so great is his love for flying that it appears that he cannot pass up any opportunity despite pressing domestic demands such as dealing with the high cost of living. Last month, as Mr. Tinubu made yet another trip to Europe, Nigeria's opposition leader Atiku Abubakar said on social media that Nigeria does not need a tourist-in-chief. That was funny. That was funny. All right, those have been our top stories on Africa. Good morning. After the break, we talk to Mike Sichula about the very serious news in Zambia.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
All right, let's talk to Mike Sichula. Mike Wudubanji. All right, we're just waiting on Mike Sichula to connect, but let's just go through what the stories are going to be. President Hakainde Hichilema has reiterated his concern on the undervaluation of African economies by Western lending institutions, which I think would make sense. I mean, considering how much natural resources Africa has, how many tax breaks these Western institutions get. But of course, President Hakainde Hichilema may have a different angle, and Mike Sichula is here to help us dissect it all. Mike Wudubanji, do take us straight into your first story. Okay, so Mike won't be here. It seems like we've just been getting elaborate selfies of Mike thanks to the network disparity. But what's the other story we've been
All right,
at?
so we have reports that have emerged that at least 100 stolen dogs are illegally smuggled into the Democratic Republic of Congo from Zambia. But it seems Mike Sichula is back, so let's try again. Good morning, Mr. Sichula.
Africa, good morning.
Wonderful.
Yes, I'm back. There was some internet glitches there.
Wonderful, Mike. It's good to have you back. So let's swing back. President Hakainde Hichilema is saying that African economies are being undervalued by Western lending institutions. Just get straight into that one and then follow through with the story of the dogs.
Yeah, so the president was speaking during a dialogue at the just ended African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, where he said that there's need for the African countries to increase intracontinental trade which has the potential to achieve self-reliance and economic achievements. So he says most African countries their economies are being undervalued, and once that is done, they're affected in terms of getting good manners in order to do infrastructure development and the like. So the president has been reiterating this message ever since he came into office, and he hopes that the African Union can use its networks to ensure that international lenders begin to value African economies correctly. It was also during this same summit that the statue of one of our former African pioneers in terms of liberating Africa, Julius Nyerere, had his statue unveiled in Addis Ababa. Then also moving on to the story about dogs. In 2022, Zambia, according to, actually, this is a research that has been conducted by some animal welfare organizations that have established that at least 100 dogs are illegally exported per month into the Democratic Republic of Congo. So according to them, they say there's also an underground market for dog meat, which is disguised as goat meat on the local market here in Lusaka. And this, they are saying, has a potential to lead to people to contracting diseases from animals that have not been well treated. And also that in Zambia, it is not a culture for Zambians to eat dogs, but the market is thriving because of the appetite for people to consume goat meat. So, for instance, in 2022, police on the Copper Belt impounded a truck that was carrying 15 dogs that were being transported from Lusaka and intended to go into the Democratic Republic of Congo. This came almost 4 months after a similar occurrence where 70 dogs were being smuggled from Mukushi and destined for Congo. So this is the trade that has been going on for the last few years.
My goodness. Yeah, we certainly want to keep an eye on that. And you think humans would have, veered away from unconventional types of meat since COVID. You remember how that happened. But yeah, let's see how it goes. The next story, former President Edgar Lungu says he's going to discontinue, and just let me know if I'm getting this wrong, discontinue the free education policy if he comes back into office. How is this a campaign?
Well, according to him, he says the provision of free education has compromised the standard of quality education, and it has given too much pressure on teachers who are attending to about 300 learners in some cases. Okay, anyway, this statement of the teachers attending to 300 learners has since been disputed by the government, saying there's no classroom in Zambia that accommodates 300 learners. But however, this is just a figurative way of stating issues by the former president, considering that he has been in government for 7 years, and under his administration, the provision of free education was not a priority. And during the current administration, the provision of free education is a priority, and it has created a number of business opportunities for people that are making decks, the people that are making chalks, even just the ordinary people who manufacture school uniforms. So on the contrary, according to President Lungu, he says there is need to revisit this policy so that the classrooms are not crowded, and also the teacher-pupil ratio is addressed so that the teacher can have enough attention for all the learners under their guard, which is something that the government is addressing by employing a number of teachers, but they have not responded to the issue of whether the free education policy is providing quality education or it has compromised the provision of quality education.
Now, Mr. Sichula, in the last of your stories, a former Deputy Inspector General of Police, Charity Katanga, has been jailed for 3 years, simple imprisonment for being found in possession of 10 Higa buses. Tell us more.
Yeah, so yesterday, this matter has been going on for the past 1 year and a half. So Lusaka Chief Magistrate Davis Chiwidi delivered the verdict yesterday and sentenced the former Deputy Inspector General of Police, Charles Kantanga, to 3 years simple imprisonment. She was found in possession of 10 Higer buses. So according to information that was before court, the court said that the amount of buses, the number of buses that she had in terms of her running the businesses was not equivalent to the amount of money that she got as gratuity or just the salary that she was drawing while she was serving as an Inspector General of Police. So, as Deputy Inspector General of Police. So she has since appealed this matter, and we are likely to see whether she will be granted bail, court bail, so that she can begin to go to court from her private residence. But as it stands, she has to undergo 3 years simple imprisonment. This is one of the first high-profile cases that the current administration seems to have scored because there has been a number of cases that are before court of former ministers in the past administration, as well as civil servants such as Madam Charity Katanga here.
All right. Mike, could you elaborate on what simple imprisonment is for our viewers?
So she will not be subjected to hard labor. That's just basically the difference between the simple imprisonment and also she will not be subjected to hard labor. She will mostly be treated as in the best way possible in a prison setup where you have certain privileges here and there in terms of visitors coming to see you, and also just because she has also served the country as a police inspector general, deputy inspector general, and probably that could have been the reason why the magistrate ruled in such a manner.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, she could be missing out on a good fitness opportunity, but yeah.
No.
Thank you, Mike, for bringing us the stories from Zambia.
Thank you very much, Africa. Good morning, and I hope our viewers who enjoy the weather that has been ongoing since last evening to this morning, because in the past few days it has been extremely hot in Lusaka. We had temperatures of 38 degrees in some cases. Wow. Extremely hot.
Yes, we are certainly hoping for some more rains. I was actually talking to Mrs. Chula earlier, telling him how much I was so grateful for the rain yesterday. So since I am hoping for some more rain, let's take a look at the weather predictions to see if my wish will come true.
Now, Africa's economic growth fell to 3.2% last year from 4.1% in 2022, the African Development Bank said on Friday, but it projected higher growth this year for all regions except Central Africa. The FDB said political instability and China's economic slowdown were compounding the shocks of COVID-19 and Russia's war in Ukraine. The final figure for 2023 was below 3.4% growth, and the FDB had forecast in November. It also cut its regional growth estimates for Central and North Africa amid a recession in oil producer Equatorial Guinea and the aftermath of devastating flooding in Libya.
Now, protests are being held in the Nigerian cities of Oyo and Ibadan against the rising cost of living. The latest demonstrations in the south of the country follow similar ones held in northern Nigeria 2 weeks ago. Protesters are angry at the high rate of inflation, driven largely by high food prices and the government's decision to end a long-running fuel subsidy. On Friday, the African Development Bank warned that Nigeria could see social unrest caused by rising fuel and food prices. In its economic outlook for this year, the bank warned that the other countries, including Kenya, Ethiopia, and Angola, and said they could face similar problems.
Those have been our economic news stories on Africa. Good morning. We're going to head over to the indicators just before Ari brings us the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with men's tennis first on the ATP Tour. It is Jannik Sinner, the Australian Open winner, that's up to number 3 in the world now, in the world rankings. That is after winning the Rotterdam Open. He beat Alex de Minaur from Australia in the final by 7-5 and 6-4. It is still number 1, Novak Djokovic in the world, and number 2 is Carlos Alcaraz. On the women's side, WTA side of the world tennis, it was the final of the Qatar Invitational, and it is Iga Swiatek of Poland, the world number 1. She beat Elena Rybakina, the world number 4, in the final 7-6 and 6-3. Iga Swiatek remained number 1 in the world, and it is also Elena Rybakina that remained number 4 in the world. The Dubai Tennis Championship, that's on the women's WTA, also started. The first rounds that is been played, the round of 64. And from some of the results I can mention there, Sloane Stephens of the United States. She beat Clara Burel of France 6-4, 1-6 and 6-2. That is to go through to the round of 32. And then also Leila Fernandez of Canada beating Bernarda Pera of the USA 6-3 and 6-2. Iga Swiatek will be the number 1 seed. She's also the world number 1, and she will next play Sloane Stephens. That is in the round of 32. And then the number 2 seed in the tournament is Aryna Sabalenka. Sabalenka won the Australian Open a few weeks ago. She took a break, and it's her first tournament back since winning the first major of the year. And number 3 seed will be Coco Gauff of the USA. And number 4 seed at the Dubai Tennis Championship will be Elena Rybakina. On to golf news, there was results from the men's PGA and also the women's European Tour. The men's PGA, it is Hideki Matsuyama of Japan that won the Genesis Invitational. He was 6 shots behind the leader going into the 4th round, but he played a brilliant 9 under par 62 in his 4th round to win the tournament on 17 under par. Southern African interest there, it is Christian Besaidnout. He ended tied for 24th on 5 under par. Then on to the ladies tour. It is the ladies European result. It's the Saudi Ladies International that was played in Saudi Arabia. The winner there, Patita Ranakan, she's from Thailand. She came in with a total of the 4 rounds of -18 and a quite comfortable win with 2nd place Esther Hessenstein of Germany on 11 under par. Southern African interest in that tournament, Ashley Buhai, she was tied 10th on 5 under par, and Paula Rito tied 18th on 2 under par. And to conclude today's international sports news, it's Formula 1 racing news, and the new season will start on the 2nd of March in Bahrain with the Grand Prix of Bahrain. But news from Formula 1 is that Formula 1, the governing body, urged Red Bull to resolve the controversy that's surrounding the team principal Christian Horner. The Christian Horner is facing allegations of inappropriate and controlling behavior, that's toward female colleague, and he's under investigation by his own team. He saw a judge for several hours on the 9th of February, that is
For those of you that are just joining us, let's take a quick look at the highlights. ICJ on Israeli occupation of Palestine hearings begin. Uproar over SANDF debts in the DRC. Africa's economic growth fell to 3.2% in 2023, says African Development Bank.
And the leader of the opposition in Nigeria has called the president, Bola Tinubu, a tourist-in-chief because of his traveling. That's been Africa Good Morning from Diana Master and Ashwin Berry.